Welcome, Ness and Baby J.
What's
I was
good?
told to say Ness first. That's
Yes,
what I
yes,
was told.
yes,
So,
yes.
welcome, you guys. The new project is out. Thank you. You know, I just got it. You know what I'm saying? I told Ness, send it to the DJs, man. We need that. We need that. Yeah, so great project, Baby J. You know what I'm saying? You
Thank you,
did
man.
all the production?
Yeah, I did all the production on this one.
How did you guys, started working on this project?
Well, first and foremost, for those that don't know, me and Jay have worked on, music as far as back as my whole career. Like the first record I ever released commercially was with my group ALX that you know very well, Madsol. It was a record called Walk With a Bop. And it was from a project that Baby J came to the U.S. way back in a long time ago.
97.
97. All right. So Jay had a project called The Birth album, and it was, featured a bunch of dope MCs from New York City at the time. Also, you had some UK artists on that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was called Birth. We had Shabazz Disciple. We had ALX. We had, who else? Who else was on that record?
Poetic, Dead Prez, Freestyle from the Arsonists, Fire.
Yeah. So we did that record, first record out the gate when I first moved to New York. And we, from that, we formed a relationship. You know what I mean? We did 3 other projects, I think, or 2.
Yeah. 2.
We did Live or Die, which was, ALX's project, and also Kill the Middleman. And then since then, we stayed in touch. Jay's a good dude, dope producer. I'm a great dude, dope MC. So, we just always checked in on each other over the years. Right. Every time that I went to the UK, I pulled up on Jay. We linked up, built. And the last few years, we've been going back and forth talking about we need to do a project, right? Like, we should do a project. We need to do a project. The last few years, I've been working on a project with a producer named Baghdaddy, with my group Weekend Money, for those that know Weekend Money. And, like, I was busy as hell doing that. Jay busy doing all the things he'd been doing, dropping records, and just never found time to do it. You know what I mean? Just never, between being in capitalism, trying to make money, chase, do whatever. We got kids. Well, I got a daughter. Jay got kids. So it's just like, we just been caught up. And then quarantine hit, or COVID hit, back in March. Everything started shutting down worldwide. And it's the type of thing that me and Jay, we'll talk about whatever's going on in the world. But it was obvious that we're going to have some time on our hands and be just sitting home. And I was itching to work on a project in general, and definitely itching to work on a project with Jay. Right. So I think he was the one who brought it up. He was like, so what are we going to do? We're going to do this project? And I answered within 3 seconds, like, hell yeah, let's do it. And where before we would say, yo, let's work on a project, he'll send beats, and I like start right into it, and then life would catch up, and we won't do it. This time it was like, yo, let's do it. I remember within 24 hours he made the first beat, which was the beat to Rona, the first song that we leaked out back in June. But he sent that beat, and I was just like, yes. Like, it just sounded like, in my head, the way I pictured it, like, it just sounded like Tim's and Camouflage, and like nothing pretentious, nothing fancy, just straight gutter, hypnotic loop that you just, you know what I mean? Like, I was itching. I was just like, yo, I'm writing to that shit. So as soon as he did that, I just started writing.
And you guys have, I saw the video, for Verona. Talk to us about the video, Baby J or, you know, Neff?
Yeah, I mean, the thing about the video and the whole project really is, I think whether like me and Ness are stuck in a moment of like trapped in the 90s and the noughties when it comes to hip hop, or whether hip hop has just become more commercial or less impactful. Do you know what I mean? I think that what we wanted to do with this project, from the music, the visuals, the video, the content, the sonics, everything, was just kind of revisit that thing in hip hop that made hip hop so special back in the day. That kind of that vibe you get of just, it's raw, it's underground, it's homegrown. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, this isn't a project where Ness is talking about his watch. You know what I mean? It's not a project where he's going to be referencing a car or his girlfriends, or, you know what I mean? Because whilst we all like those things in life, that's not what most of our lives look like. They might do at certain junctions for us. We might be in a good position once or twice in our life. But even if we're that dude that gets through and has a nice car and a nice watch or whatever, we're probably around 20 of our friends that's dead, strung out on drugs, working a deadbeat, you know what I mean? Job. Like, life isn't as glamorous as hip hop nowadays makes it out to be. So I think when we did this project, it was definitely a shout back to that time when hip hop was about like, yo, life is hard, and we're going to talk about that, and it molds you in a certain way. So I think when you like the video of Rona, like, it's not glamorous. Do you know what I mean? It's black and white. It's showing the impact of coronavirus, or specifically it's showing the impact of coronavirus on poor people, on poor black people. Do you know what I mean? Because it impacts in the communities that we're in more so than it's gonna in other communities. So it's just, the whole project is about reflecting about, you know, I like shiny things just like everyone else does. I like nice cars, but I'm also realistic to the fact that most of the time that's not how our lives pan out. And hip hop has got a role to play. It's got a job in talking about those stories and articulating for people the impact of their lives. And that, I mean, for me, that's why I wanted to get back with Ness and work with Ness. You understand what I'm saying? Because I can go and work with some of the, you know, some of these new guys, or try and place a beat on. But you know, I'm a grown man now. For what? You know, it doesn't matter to me no more. Like, I want to make some music that's gonna make people think, and you know what I mean.
So with Rona, the visual of Rona, what Jay's saying is like 100% spot on. What we were looking to do in process and aesthetic is not get too precious with it. You know what I mean? Not to be lazy or just do some whatever shit, but definitely to be like, let's use what we got. You know what I mean? On some guerrilla shit. We, you know, we go back and forth a lot of times with like a friendly joke that, you know what I mean? Like, this whole thing is about being guerrilla. And when people hear the word gorilla, they think of, you know, monkey, gorilla, ape, but not gorilla as in Guerrilla, or the 2 R's in Spanish. But it's basically about using the resources you have in front of you in all, you know, by all means, like, you know what I mean, as an artist. And, you know, some of the stuff was shot straight on the iPhone. You know what I mean? We got an iPhone. It's like the camera is, you know, of a certain quality that you can get, you know, good visual. And we just like, yo, just shoot some shit. And like, we went back and forth artistically how we're gonna do it, whatever. And it's a freeing thing to not be so precious. Like, yo, we need to go ahead and do this big budget video for this thing. It's like, look, it's about the message. It's about the words. It's about the aesthetic. It's about the whole ethos of this guerrilla mind state, which is like, you know, just use what we got. You know what I mean? Like, use what we got. And well, like, Jay's the one editing it, so it's like it's very in house.
Editing, man.
Yeah.
Thank you. And all the videos, there's Rona, I think we got 3 out right now. So there's Rona, Third World Poor, and Crack Era Babies. Third World Poor was done by our guy Jimmy Knott. He did a great job of that. But none of the video, like, there was no budget for any of the videos, you know. And that's not something where we say, like, reluctantly, like, oh, you know, because we really want to, we're cool with that. Like, we want to do this independent and guerrilla. Like, it don't have to be shiny for it to be dope.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the
Keep
responses
everything
with this whole
organic.
project,
Just keep
exactly,
everything organic.
exactly. You know what I mean? Because it's sometimes, you know, you only need to spend money or really get extra resources when you're trying to imitate or fit in with a trend, should I say. That's not really what this project is about. I have no problem with little whoever doing some shiny stuff. That's great. There's a space for that. But that's not what this project was.
Right.
So this project was, what can we, you know, this is something out of nothing, like the song says. So what can we do out of nothing? And like, oh, there's 4 videos. We've got a video for that as well. So, and we're just doing stuff ourselves. We're creating art in the way that we feel it needs to be out there in the world. You know what I mean?
The little baby on your cover.
I don't think Ness knows the answer to this.
Yeah, I don't know. This is Jay.
So the image is from a famous photographer, Gordon Parks.
Okay.
And it was an image, a very iconic image from the 60s that he took. So that's where that image is from. Then we kind of switched it up a little bit, posterized it to give that. We wanted kind of, because I don't know what you've seen, but we've done a series of images. And actually, when you buy the vinyl, you get like a poster and there's stickers with all these different images. We're going to work that out. We're going to get you the vinyl.
I don't have the vinyl. I just...
You need the vinyl.
Yeah.
It's $24.99, brother. It's $24.99.
No, you already know I support you.
I got you.
Whatever
DJ, for the DJs, man.
Yeah.
So with when you buy the vinyl's like color vinyl, you get the poster and the stickers. But we did a series of images. Some are from other photographers, some are images that we've taken of family, friends, or whatever. And they've all been done in that kind of, almost looks like a demonstration poster type way, because that's the sort of vibe we wanted. So the original image is from a Gordon Parks image, and we kind of flipped it a little bit for this.
Oh, I see. Because the one you guys have for digital is just this little baby on the, on the.
You see what's happening here?
Yeah, the vinyl's nice.
I see. Okay.
Vinyls, and it's what it is everybody got like a different color. Like I've seen blue ones, I've seen red ones. Like people will post it up on their socials. Like, yo, the record came in. When I first opened it up, like I was like, oh, I got the highlighter green joint, which is like when we first started the project. I told Jay, I was like, whatever we do, I want vinyl. And the reason why I wanted vinyl is just I want something tangible. You know what I mean? Like,
but it's a classic cover, man.
Thank you.
You guys did a great job with that. Yeah, the image, you know, the font. I can go on and on. Yeah.
Yeah, and we all that was done in house. So this is me and Ness going back and forth for weeks, going like, what's the visual of this? Like, if we listen to the music, what does it look like if it was a visual image? So it wasn't like we just grabbed, and even like the fonts, every letter is hand done, as in it's a font, but then everything's resized and stretched. So like there's so much love and attention and detail gone into this album. Even, you know, you'll listen to tracks and Ness will say something in a verse, and quietly in the background you'll hear a sound effect that ties in, like the skits, everything. Like there's so much work that went into this, because ultimately we just wanted, like, whatever this is going to do, however much exposure it does or doesn't get, however many it sells or doesn't sell, we just wanted to have something we were like, you know what, we can stand by this project. Like the quality of the art has to be high. You know what I mean? Yeah. That was the most important thing for us.
But yeah, man, on that song Memoirs, I could hear you, you know, with what Baby J was saying, you know, and I could hear you in at the very end saying, like, now we don't need no hooks on this one. So yeah, man. And then you pretty much, Ness, you pretty much went in on that. And,
yeah, man. On that record specifically, or just in general?
Well, in general, but you know, I have some of my favorites here on there. You
Respect.
Know, Bona, Memoir, you know, stuff like that. Yeah.
Like the project, and it's a little weird even talking about it as if like it's not our project. because as a rapper, like our whole thing as rappers, or what hip hop is big on, is self promotion and being like, I'm this, I'm that. You know what I mean? Like the old KRS one line, I'm this, I'm that. But like it was important. It was important for both of us to come from a real honest space, aesthetically, sonically. Like Jay, you know, he has a certain texture and a certain process that I've always loved. It's a very like, I don't want to say acquired taste, as if like it's not just dope, but it's the type of thing that you have to be into. Like it's like very delicate, detailed, just like sonics. Everything means something. It's not just, you know, heavy bass, a heavy kick, a loop. It's not just that. It's always like a musical element to it. Right. And then I remember early on, like I had a batch of beats from Jay from before, and some of them had straight samples, right? And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna write to it. And he was like, all right, but like the stuff that I'm making for this project specifically, like I'm not trying to do any samples. Even though it sounds like samples, that's a big thing. A lot of people think like, oh, it's that boom bap, it's that lo-fi, whatever, you know, you want to call it. And you'll be thinking like, oh, it's samples. It's not samples. It's like, you know what I mean? Some of it is session musicians, some of it is sounds that he's playing out. So that was his way of coming in a real space as an artist. And then as far as the words, like I've been itching for the last few years to write a project like this, in that there's just certain things that I haven't heard out of hip hop. A lot of it has to do with just being mature, you know what I mean? And not mature like, I'm gonna tell you kids, you know, what's right, what's wrong type shit. It's like rap, you know, started off as youth culture, started some, you know, as a thing that kids, you know, and young adults would do. And it wasn't mature enough as a genre to have older narratives and older MCs talking about stuff. So what ends up over the years, you know, things have bumped up, and some of us grew up with this, you know what I mean? Like I'm as old as hip hop. Like, so I've always had hip hop in my life. So what ends up happening is like, I've seen the genre of hip hop inch forward, where you have MCs talking about something that's not we kids, you know what I mean? Not no kid shit, you know what I mean? But it's still a lot of grown rappers, you know what I mean, above 30 that's trying to write some shit like they was 20, you know what I mean? And talk about these young stories like there isn't a narrative of the older street dude or the older dude in hip hop. And I'm careful with saying even the word older, because it's not about old or like past the point. It's just like, let's talk about the stories. Like if you're a real street dude, you know, you out here living this life, like, and you got a teenage kid, like it changes the perspective a little bit. It changes the narrative a little bit, but you don't hear about it. You just don't see it in rap. And if dudes might mention some shit, they'll gloss over it like, yeah, oh, by the way, yeah, my kid's 13 or some shit, 14. But I was like, nah, we going directly into that. We're gonna go talk about the struggles of that. We're gonna talk about the complexities of that. We just gonna talk that shit and not be afraid to enter that space. Right. And also what Jay was talking about as far as like, you know, you got your little rappers, little this, little that, whatever. Like the stuff I do with my group Weekend Money, you know what I mean? It's in the realm that could be in that space, right? So I never marginalize, like I never be like, oh, the mumble rappers and all that shit. Like I don't do that. You know what I mean? You want, if that's,
I don't.
If, you know what I mean? Like if that's where you at with it, that's what you want to talk about. That's your education in this thing, do it. But it's definitely a segment missing in hip hop. And the last few years, you start hearing the Sonics, like a few MCs out here, a few groups coming with that, you know, dirty drums again. You got the whole Griselda crew. You got Rock Marcy, who's, you know, always been on that. You got the Flea Lords, you know what I mean? All these different MCs that like, there seems like there's a resurgence in that. And us coming from that all day and night, like, it's like, not to be on no rapper shit, like let me show you how to really do it, but it's like let's bring all these things. Let's bring the Sonics. Let's bring this narrative that comes from a more mature space, but let's still keep it fresh. Let's still keep it dope, and let's still talk about something that makes you think, and at the same time bring certain things to the dialogue. You know what I mean? Like, let's talk about Spare the Ride. Like, we got a song on the album called Spare the Ride. Like, I didn't mean to talk about that, but as I'm writing from a real space, I entered like a conversation about, you know, parents beating their kids, and like, how do you deal with that? And does that come from, for Black people, does that come from slavery? And it's just like shit that in another space, I'd be like, nobody wants to hear about this. You know what I mean? Like, this ain't what you would talk about on hip hop, but it's like, nah, let's talk about all that shit. You know what I mean?
So
can I say some? Can I say something to add on to what Ness was just saying?
let's do it.
Yeah, I think, like, as Ness was saying about what he's doing lyrically, and to some extent with what I did sonically with the production, like, you know, if you look at a track like Ballad of a Broken Man, I can't think of another rapper in hip hop that talks about that stuff. Like, we've got so caught up and influenced by like the culture of being a winner, being a superhero, being a success, being the hardest or the most expensive or whatever. Who's out there talking about, I'm sleeping on my girl's couch till she kicks me out? You know what I mean? Like, I think the perspective that Ness has come with it as an MC, and the stories that he's telling, you haven't heard those in hip hop in 20 years. Do you understand what I'm saying? I think to a less degree, but again, you know, I'm like I say, there's no samples on the album, everything's played, but then sonically, it's one of the dirtiest projects, most lo-fi projects, you know, that I'm hearing, especially bearing in mind it ain't using samples. And I think, you know, there's always a pressure when you're creating something, when everything else sounds like something else, of kind of going, oh, you know, Ness, where's your record about your car, or about how hard you are, or your rep, or, you know what I mean? Like, but we knew what we started off to do. And I think this record isn't for everyone. You know what I mean? Like, there's going to be some people that are going to hear this and they're not going to get it, or they're not going to enjoy it. And I think we're cool with that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was never meant to be for everyone. But I think if you've been out there kind of feeling like hip hop hasn't really been doing what it was doing when you got into it, and when it was an important type of energy in your life, I think there's a lot of people that are going to resonate. And the feedback we're getting, not that it's a huge record yet or anything, but, you know, people are hitting us up like, yo, this is the best album I heard in 10 years. Like, this album is everything. It's, you know what I mean? Like, I know, you know, you always hear your good press and all the rest of it, but I think there's a lot of people out there that have been waiting for the sort of things that Ness is talking about on the record. I haven't had that probably since a Public Enemy album, or a Dead Prez album, or
Tupac.
it just hasn't been that energy, or a Tupac album, you know?
Yeah.
And as far as like, what do you use?
So basically,
production.
I work on I've worked on loads of things over the years, but I work on a Nord Wave, which is a synthesizer keyboard. I use it as a sampler, but when I say I use it as a sampler, as in I don't take any samples. So I work with different musicians or certain sounds or whatever, and I'll get a piano sound for my piano, or guitar sound, and then I'll play everything in. But you can mess with the sounds a lot more than you can on, say, like an MPC or something like that. And then I record into Logic, but again, Logic, I don't use as a production tool. I use it like almost like an old school tape machine. So essentially I press record and I play the stuff in. I'm not a musician, but I can do it enough that I play it in. If it's not right, I play it in again. So there's no quantizing, there's no sequencing. I'm playing everything in like I'm playing, you know, like an instrument. I've also got like a guitar and a bass and percussion instruments and stuff like that. So everything, but my whole thing is when it's in there, I mess with it to the point where it sounds like, you know, because I got to the stage as a producer where I was taking these samples, and it's like, you take a sample, you're like, yeah, that's dope. But then you hear it on someone else's record, like, it's been used. Do you know what I mean? Or so-and-so used it now. Or and in hip hop, I just felt like
all the time.
All the time. And I just felt like we were running out of dope samples. And also, like, sometimes my best records, I listened to it, but it was more like I was being a DJ and I'm just looping someone else's idea. And I kind of got to that stage where I was like, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to be the guys on the record that I'm sampling. So it took me a long time, and I worked with this soul singer. We did a project on RCA Records with this soul singer, where we had session musicians from Jamiroquai's band and all these different people, you know what I mean? And working with them to kind of learn the other way of actually producing that sound. So this album's kind of the culmination of that technique in a way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Shout out to Jamie Joseph.
No doubt.
He's on the album as well.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
He's the singer on Ballad of a Broken Man. We went back and forth on that record, like over WhatsApp, him writing it, me sending him my lyrics, being like, yo, this is basically the feeling of what I was saying. And he came with something that, at the time when he first wrote it, the words were beautiful. And I was like, oh, that's it. I think we did a rewrite, like 1 or 2 rewrites. But when I actually listened to it, like after Jay, put it together, and I was just like zoning out to it as a fan, I was like, it's so perfect. So like it captured the idea and the energy and the pain in the song, but it was just beautiful. It was just beautiful. And anytime I put that record on, like even in my crib, like my girl is like, that's her favorite track. And she likes music that's the exact opposite of Ballad of a Broken Man. Like she listens to, you know what I mean, Jenny Aiko, Megan Thee Stallion, you know what I mean, just regular stuff that's in, the mainstream. And she really was like, I connect with that because I think Jamie's voice really brought that across.
And another thing that's interesting about that story is that, again, like Jamie did it virtually, like there's no one that's on this album that's been in the same room while this album's been recorded.
Nope.
So in its simplest form, like I make a beat, I send it over to Ness, he might have some comments, we change bits up, he writes, records it in Miami, sends it back to me, make some comments, we go back and forth. I do the mix over here, send it to him, do the master set, we're back and forth. And even like when we got Jamie's in his studio, recording it, sending the vocals over. So the whole album's been done over, FaceTime, Google Drive, WeTransfer, you know what I mean? Like we've not been in the same room, but there's been times where Ness has been writing and the cameras have been on and we've been in the room, but the whole album has been done virtually, every part of it.
Anything else, you guys want to tell the people?
21st Century Blues, as a fan of hip hop, I think is the best record from hip hop this year. The grown, rapper narrative, but we still on the street level. You know what I mean? We still here. We still on the day to day. There's no prop for that. You know what I mean? The only prop is being honest with yourself, being real. You know what I mean? And really real. Like real gets used a lot in hip hop. Is like, yeah, I'm real and whatever. But it's like, to be really real, I think you gotta be vulnerable. You gotta take the mask off. You gotta, as much as rap is about posing, literal posing, like if you look at the old B-boy stance, that's a pose. Like this ain't that. This ain't that type of shit. I still got my swag. I still got my confidence. I'm still walking with a bop, all that energy. But what was more important than all of that was being like, let's get to the heart of the matter. And this is the first of a few projects. Me and Jay gonna do, a few of these. Might be 3, might be 6. We just gonna keep cranking them out, and they coming. Like the next one coming in like 3 months. And it was important for me as a writer with this first record that we do to cement the foundation to that narrative, so that I'm not saying to myself later, like, what else can I write? Like, yo, there's endless stories in this, I won't say genre, but in this space. In this space, there's endless stories that I'm gonna talk about, that I'm telling you, like, cats ain't doing it. Like, you got some indie artists, obviously, that a lot of people don't know about. My RBG crew homies, like, always come with some real shit. But I'm basically talking about, that street level. It's not just hustlers, but hustlers, cats trying to navigate through oppression and capitalism, cats living that life, but also showing the love, showing vulnerability. You know what I mean? So it's important for me to communicate that to the people that's like in tune with it, checking it out. Like, oh, okay, so I'm about to hit something I haven't heard. Like, yeah, that's one. And then just in general, like, we not out here begging people to buy the record and none of that, because we did it. If we don't sell one copy, we good. Like, we did something that we love. But I do think it's important as a fan of the culture, as a part of the culture, to support that real shit. So like, if you're in tune with the vibration, you see the artwork, we named the album 21st Century Blues, but we put System Don't Work on the front. Like, that's an art decision. That's like, we ain't out here marketing nothing. Like, we wanted to say those words, even though the name of the album is something else. Like, if you connect with that, you look at it, you like, yo, it's feeling like, cop that shit. Like, you know what I mean? Spend the bread, keep the movement moving. But regardless, like, if you're listening to it, share it, like, let people know what's really good. Cause I do what I do to prove my supporters right. You know what I mean? Prove anybody who fuck with me, from you, Madsol, to all the homies, I do it for them. I mean, there's also the chip on my shoulder to prove the haters wrong, to be like, yeah, I told y'all, the shit is fire. But just everybody that's riding with me, everybody who done copped this shit already, everybody who's sending, DMs and texts and, leaving in the comments like, yo, this is the best shit I heard in a minute. Like, I do this for us. You know what I mean? I do this because it ain't done yet. Like, we can, real hip hop is here. Real hip hop is being redefined. You know what I mean? Right now with this project, like, you can be yourself. You can talk about these stories. And, as long as you bouncing on the beat ill and you telling real stories and real imagery, like, you know what I mean? It's art. So, like, embrace that.
Baby J, so where are you from?
So I'm from the UK, from a place called Derby, which is in the middle of the country. Like Ness said earlier, my link was at the very early stages of my career, I was working with MCs in the UK, and I got a link with the A&R from Wu-Tang Clan when they first dropped, and he wanted me to come out and do some work with some artists he was working with. Through him, I met Shabazz the Disciple and started working with Shabazz. Through Shabazz, I met Lord Jamar from Brand Nubian, who introduced me to Dead Prez. Through Dead Prez, I started doing some bits with them, and they introduced me to Ness and K from Airlikes. And we just, we clicked as far as our politic and what music meant to us, and sonically where we're at. And we've, like Ness said, we've been working on music ever since. So,
what song did you do on the Airlikes project?
Oh man.
So Airlikes had done 4 albums, right, Ness? So the first 2 albums, the first one was called Live or Die, and the second one, Kill the Middleman. Live or Die, I think I did like 80% of that album. And Kill the Middleman, I think I did like everything but 1 track. Then the next album I wasn't on because we were working on other projects.
Right. Okay. Ness, would you like to give the the people your social media?
Yes, sir. So it's Nestagram on Instagram. So that's NESSTA Gram, like GRAM. On Instagram, on Twitter, and then on, I think, Facebook, it's Ness Airlikes or something, but you can find me, Nestagram.
And Baby J, how can the people find you on social media?
Baby J Biz, B-I-Z. So that's me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, everything.
Yo, check it out. It's NE$, Nestle, Airlikes, RBG, People Army, Weekend Money, here on the Better Days podcast.
Yeah, this is your boy Baby J from the UK on the Better Days Shows podcast.